3, 2, 1.
Here we go! Hey everybody, and welcome to another installment of the College Esports Update. Your host Norris Howard here. Don't forget the College Esports Update is brought to you by Zaxby's. Cure your craving with Zaxby's. Now I'm also joined by two awesome people. First off, Coach Adam Antor of Aquinas College. Coach, what's going on?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you, Norris?
I'm doing well. And Andrew Stevenson coming to us from Sandy, Las Vegas. What's going on, Drew?
Doing good, Norris. Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah, we're always excited to have you here, and we're always excited to start the show with a little bit of Call of Duty. So here's what was happening in College COD. So as usual, we want to start off with the power rankings. I know for a fact Ottawa hasn't moved an inch, but who else have we seen perform well and enter that top 25?
Yeah, you're right, Norris. Ottawa Gold, Ottawa Black, definitely doing their thing, taking that number 1 and number 2 spot. Gold did jump Black and take that number 1 spot again after being in the shadows for that 1 week. We did see Sheridan jump to the number 3 spot and switch with CUE Maroon from 3 to 4. So that is another big addition that we haven't seen in 8 weeks. And another new addition, we have two newest additions to the top 25, which is Ryerson Rams at 12-1. And we also have UTK Orange, who are also 12-1, jumping into that top 25.
Yeah, and you know what? I got to put some respect on Sheridan's name. We haven't talked about them very much. But to be in the number 3 spot and continue to perform this well week over week, we got to give a special shout out to Sheridan. They're doing very, very well, and they continue to perform at the highest level. But I got to jump on this, man, because we saw not one, but two huge upsets from one team. Purdue Gold had to have one of the best weeks of college COD that we've seen thus far. Tell us who they played and how they did it.
Yeah, you're right. They did end up going out there and shock the world with back-to-back wins against number 7 Illinois Gold and number 15 SIUE Red. They were both obviously the underdogs, sitting at number 17. Purdue Gold going in and just outscoring them in all aspects of the game there. We had Benji and Tragic for number 17 Purdue absolutely crushing it in hardpoint and control, giving their team a huge advantage over the higher ranked teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a quick correction, Illini Orange was who they played against in that first match. But it was definitely a match to see. And I was very, very impressed with Benji in particular. On hardpoint. I was very, very impressed with how they played and impressed with Purdue overall. Purdue has been doing very well. They also ended up getting into the semifinals of the Northern Playoffs for League of Legends. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I want us to move on a little bit to UTK Orange. They were able to play up against Liberty Red, the number 23 ranked Liberty Red. They're out of the top 25. UTK Orange continues to perform well as well. And the last thing we want to touch on College COD is that Sheridan update. Let's talk a little bit about them because we don't necessarily get a lot of time to talk about Sheridan. What happened with them?
Yeah, so as we've seen for the first time in 8 weeks, they did jump to that number 3 spot. They are sitting at 11-1 with that overall record, and they have not lost a single map since week 3. And that did come against the Ryerson Rams, who are on the top 25 now. So that could be something that we'll eventually see them match up again sometime down the road. But again, yeah, coming against a winning streak like that, they have not yet to face a winning team since week 4. But they do have Rutgers Black, who are 10-1 on their radar coming up. So that's going to be a great matchup with Sheridan and Rutgers Black. They're going to see, some actual competition to see what's going on, to see if they can, hold strong there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I also want to very briefly talk about E4 Knights. They make a reverse sweep against Bama Crimson. Bama went down 2-0 and almost got swept, but they ended up coming all the way back. But Kyle the Brazilian, man, came out of nowhere, and the E4 Knights end up clawing that series out. So thank you so much, Andrew. Is there a match coming up that you want to look forward to?
Not that I have looking forward to specifically. What I am looking forward to is the map changes here. They are going to be rotating a few maps for stage 2. They're going to be adding the Apocalypse Hardpoint and an Express Search and Destroy, getting rid of Crossroads Hardpoint and Garrison Search and Destroy. So I'm a little excited to see a little change there, because as you can see with the update, we've all been playing those maps with the new Apocalypse. So I can't wait to see that here in the college COD League here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Andrew, for your diligent coverage of College COD, and we expect to hear more from you next week, as always.
Yes, sir. See you soon.
Norris Howard here, joined alongside one of the most awesome people in all of college esports, Adam Antor. We call him Coach. What's going on, Coach?
I'm doing good, Norris. How are you?
Listen, and if Coach is here, you already know we getting ready to talk about some CLoL. The playoffs are fully underway, but we gonna start in the North this time. We usually keep it for last, but we got to start in the North because the finals are set. We had the 2 semifinals over the weekend. Coach, who we expecting to see in that big dance?
The North is the strongest conference historically and has been again this year, in my opinion. And what that means is that they have the most seeds. They have the most berths into the national championship bracket. So that means that they have 4 seeds to give to the teams in the North. So as we talk through these last 2 matches in the North, we find out that all 4 of these teams are actually already punched their way into that national bracket, and now they're fighting over favorable seeding. So we saw this Purdue team who faced off last week against Columbia College and upset that strong squad from Columbia. But this week they went up against Maryville, and you even watched it, so I'd love to get your thoughts. But Maryville showed why they are the tournament favorites, not only in the North, but on the national level, as they took the series pretty handily 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was pretty excited in watching this match for about the first 10 minutes of the first game. Purdue looked very composed. They got first blood. They were able to go out and play a very patient game, which I think was very smart to play against Maryville. We already know about Maryville's talent across the board. We know about their ability to team fight. But what they did was a critical mistake, is that they gave up top lane to a Gangplank. And I'm not sure if you guys out there watch a lot of League, but Gangplank is a very strong champion when he's ahead. Now, if you pressure Gangplank in the early game, you're going to, that GP is going to have a hard time. But when you just give him free CS and you let him go crazy, he's going to scale and he's going to carry. And that's exactly what happened in the first match, is that the Gangplank ends up carrying. All of the team fights were over before they began, because Gangplank can be anywhere on the map and just hit R and completely just destroy the team fight. It was a match that showed that Purdue had some promise, but after that, the series completely belonged to Maryville. Games 2 and 3 were not close. In game 2 in particular, there was an invade that Purdue attempted that went horribly wrong, and they ended up just steamrolling the rest of the match. The third match went exactly the same. It was a match that showed just how much more experienced Maryville is playing at the top level, and Purdue still has a long way to go. But I'm excited to see that there are some new faces. I'm excited to see that they were able to upset Columbia. But yeah, Maryville punching this ticket to the final in the North Division. No surprise there. So moving on to the second half of that bracket, where we saw a intra-state rivalry play out. Coach.
We did. Illinois, a very strong team in the North Conference, went up against the newcomers to Collegiate Esports in Illinois State. Now, this is a squad that we knew was going to be really strong, but we don't know how strong it was going to be. And this was really their first major test from a national level perspective. But what we saw was Illinois State really holding their ground and taking the series 3-1. They did drop one game, but you can drop a game here and there, eventually taking the series 3-1 against a strong Illinois squad. But remember, and a reminder, that all 4 of these teams have already punched their way to the national championship bracket. So congratulations to them. tough road ahead, and these last couple matches in the North Conference are going to really determine what seed and what placement you get going into the national bracket.
Absolutely. And so the finals are set for the Northern Division. As we move east, we got some of the usual suspects. We got Harrisburg taking on University of Toronto. And listen, Coach, you've been very critical of Harrisburg over this course of this particular CLoL season. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think that trend continues. I think they don't look as sharp as Maryville has looked, the other arguably, I would say, favorite to win the whole thing. They haven't looked as sharp as they went up against Toronto and end up dropping the first map.
Yeah, I mean, this Toronto squad is not a weak squad by any means. It's just not the national level strength that we are looking at when we talk about a Maryville or an Illinois State. So it should not be a super difficult matchup for a Harrisburg squad, but it ends up being a little bit more difficult than you'd think. They do eventually take the series 3-1, and you've got to watch this clip. Clyde, the Harrisburg support, who has had a short stint at Maryville in the past, gets this extremely clutch pentakill on Pike that was just really thrilling to watch. And we get actually even a... It's pretty cool. I mean, did you get to see?
I did get to see it. It's nuts to see this play, because one thing I always love about Pike is that, like, when you start a team fight and you got a Pike who's got the ultimate up, it's like hit R and Cowabunga. It's like, I love seeing it. And it was a great play, absolutely clutch play. And Harrisburg eventually do end up punching their ticket to the finals. Again, more is at stake in these other divisions because they don't have as many seeds. So you're going to see kind of a more aggressive, in some senses, match in the other divisions and the other playoffs, because, I mean, in some cases, only those who win the finals or get to the finals are going to go to the national bracket. So there's a lot at stake here. On the other side of that, we got York versus Western. They ended up going to game 5. They go to full ride, but eventually Western took that series in the East. And very quickly, heading out west, Arizona State, they go up against UC San Diego, another 5-game match that was very intense. UC Riverside defeats Cal. They punched their ticket, so UC Riverside and Arizona State will face each other in that final. And Coach, take us down south where we got the final bracket for the Cardinal Directions.
Yeah, absolutely. Heading down south for some nicer weather. Getting out of this north, we saw George Mason continues their domination in this conference. They continue this week just rolling over Texas. Winthrop University, another really strong team we continue to talk about. They did drop a game or a match a couple weeks back, but we found out that was due to some roster changes and some player missing out on that match. But they're back in it. They're running the table here. They went 3-0 against UCF this week. Houston defeated Florida, no surprise there. And then NC State taking on the University of North Carolina and takes the series. All these teams still have a chance at punching their ticket into the national bracket. No one is guaranteed yet. I'm really excited to watch this Winthrop versus George Mason match this week. Both of these teams, I think, are the strongest in the conference, and I'm not quite sure how it's going to end up. Winthrop has a lot to prove, but George Mason is kind of that underdog that nobody knows about yet, except the teams that have gone against them this spring and lost to them.
Yeah, and so I think those are probably, two. Obviously, I agree. I think those are the two strongest teams in that division. Winthrop in particular, long legacy program, same thing with George Mason. I'm very excited to see where this goes as well. So, Coach, thank you so much for your analysis as always. And we're going to bring you back because we're going to talk a little bit about Overwatch as well. So make sure you guys stick around for that. Yeah, everybody, we're back. College Esports Update returns. Coach Antor is back with us as usual. We're going to very briefly talk about some collegiate Overwatch championships where Boise State ended up getting a 2-0 win over Purdue Gold in one of the stream matches over the weekend. And you know what? I'm very happy to see this because Boise State has been a program that's been struggling a little bit. They're constantly involved, but they haven't been able to get over the hump to beat some of the top tier teams. Now, Purdue Gold is not necessarily a top tier team, but it's good to see Boise ending up winning out. Also, we have UCSD Varsity Overwatch going up against UCSB, the Magpies, and UCSD ends up performing well. They ended up winning out, but the Magpies, they looked okay. I don't want to necessarily say that they looked bad, but they looked okay. And lastly, we have the Broncos versus the University of Toronto, and they ended up winning 2-0. But I want to ask Coach something right quick, because I'm frustrated. Coach, why are teams allowed to not use their school names? I don't get it. Like, why? Like, I understand if you have more than one team, but like I don't care. The Broncos, that's the team. Just use your school name.
I'm with you. And I know the coaches over at St. Clair College, we would fight right with you on this one. It can be extremely frustrating when I'm setting up stream overlays for a match coming up, or I want to report on a score we just saw, and the team name is Tom's Goon Squad, and you don't know who it is. I'm doing a lot of research of like Googling someone's username or trying to find them on Discord to see if they have a tag in front of their name. It's frustrating. I get it. A lot of the times it's a club student ran. And what I think might be the problem is that either student coming from the students or from the school, there might be some misinformation that they can't use the name of the school or represent the school in an official capacity. I know it was a big deal for the University of Michigan this year when they became recognized as an official club sport, that they could finally use the actual Block M logo. They used to be Arbor Esports, and now they can actually be the University of Michigan Esports. How many times is that actually coming from the university versus a student thinking that that's the rule? I'm not quite sure, but I'm with you, Norris. We can complain about that one together. It can be frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. And so moving forward into the next round pretty soon, even though it's a national Swiss, we're going to be moving into the qualifiers for the playoffs pretty soon. And let me be honest with you guys, we only got one true blue undefeated team, and that's Northwood. And, you know, Coach, we talk a lot about programs. You talk a lot about programs as a whole, how they perform, how they do. Has there been a program that has just popped out of nowhere over the past year and a half that really has been as dominant as Northwood? I mean, it seems like almost in a semester, they've come out of nowhere and dominated almost every esport that they participate in.
Yeah, I don't think any program has bursted into the scene quite like Northwood has in terms of competitive stature. I think when Maryville opened up their program and started giving scholarships and creating an actual full-fledged esports program, they were just as competitive when they first came onto the scene. But this Northwood wave, if you will, is just it's crazy. It's massive. I'm not sure if it's repeatable and going into the future as we continue to build out the collegiate esports scene. Harrisburg would have probably been the same thing, but those two were offering full ride scholarships. They had a lot of players kind of apply and try out. Northwood doesn't have that. They really did a focused recruiting effort and brought in just massive talent. But what we've seen in the past so far from Northwood is this inability, or this really defeating most teams' domination during the regular season. But once they hit the playoffs, they tend to make a lot of mistakes and sometimes fall flat when you get into the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then even finals of some of these tournaments. And really what it comes down to, I think, is the coaching and the mental side of esports. And I'm not sure if that might be where this program kind of falls short, is you get really far into it and then you kind of fall flat. We saw that in Overwatch last fall. We saw that in CRL in some instances over the last year with their Rocket League team. Interested to see what happens this year, though.
Yeah, and so very briefly, for the Overwatch Collegiate Championships, our top 10 right now are Northwood, Ohio State, Harrisburg, University of Florida, UCI Esports, Bellevue University, Maryville, Akron, Midland, and Utah. So you got the defending champion, Utah, at the 10 spot, with only a few weeks left of this national Swiss. So I'm interested to see what they do, but this is competitive. This is an incredibly competitive bracket. UCI only has 10 points, but obviously based on strength of opponent and a lot of other factors, they are in the 5 spot currently. So with that said, that's going to be it for the college esports update. For Adam Antor and Andrew Stevenson, I'm your host, Norris Howard, and we will see you guys next time for more college esports. Have a good one.